being the epitome of your audience, I go to the aisle, the deli, and I'm not just buying one cheese, I'm buying several. So how do you segment against someone, with a white, a flavored, and an orange cheese, for instance?
Mm-hmm. You're bringing up a very, very interesting point, which is we know that this consumer not only spends quite a bit on cheese on a daily basis, roughly $17 a trip on cheese. When they're purchasing for a special occasion, they're going to buy about $28 worth of cheese. And they'll have anywhere from 5 to 7 different types of cheese in their refrigerator at one time. And that's really coming down to usage occasion, actually, right? Where that same consumer might buy their traditional shredded cheese that may be private label for their taco night or for their, Italian night. But if they're going to make a cheese plate and want to kind of have a little bit more of a special moment, that's when they're going to go over to the deli and buy something that is a little bit pricier because they intrinsically want to share that moment with someone or have that moment themselves. Right. So it really ties to consumer behavior.
Yeah, it really does. So the next point here is finding that thing that really creates that uniqueness in the mindset of the consumer so that they're making the buying decisions that you need them and want them to. So this is where that thing with the brand, I think, is one of the hardest parts of branding. This is where all these strategic insights and consumer insights really come into play so that you can differentiate and create, not just differentiate, but truly create distinction back to that sea of sameness.
Absolutely. And so once we knew the consumer, then we started to take a step back and look at ourselves. And we said, what does Alouette have? What does it own? What can it talk about? And when we did our research and talked to consumers, they could not repeat back to us a consistent message on who we were. And so it was a real challenge to say, okay, well, what do we have? And how does that then transcend into what do we want to be? And, this is where your internal constituents, when you're brand building, can be a real asset to you. So not only did we talk to consumers, but we talked to employees who had worked at the company for 40 plus years and really started to understand, what was the company like? What was it like to produce Alouette here? What were some of the challenges? What stories have you heard? And through that, we found a couple of interesting nuggets. One of the nuggets we found is that Jean-Noël Bongrand, who brought the product to the US from our French heritage, had this really entrepreneurial spirit and just really wanted to share the love of French cheeses with Americans. But the second thing we found is that he really wanted to build it kind of with the Americans in mind. And how do we take what we have from this French cheese and adapt it in a way that Americans would love? And so one of the ways they did that was with the name.